All right. Welcome, guys. Welcome back. Excuse me. Sorry. Welcome back to yet another podcast. It's none other than your boy, Husky Hefe, the Fat Fitness Model, Jose Cortez. You know, call me anything. Just call me a good name. And I'm sitting here with none other than my beautiful co-host.
It's your girl, Michi G. And I am the author of the book, I Lost My Mom, Memoir of a Motherless Daughter, which is available on Amazon. So check that out. And we're back with another podcast episode / video if you follow us on YouTube.
Yeah, so if you follow our visual on YouTube, we are here. Check out our Patreon. We ain't got it yet, but check it out.
But it's coming, period. So if you are new to I Lost My Podcast, if this is your first episode, we are a podcast. Like I said, I wrote a book called I Lost My Mom, Memoir of a Motherless Daughter, where I talked about my grieving journey with losing my mother. And I felt like on my grieving journey, I was trying to heal. So we brought that to this platform, hence why it's called I Lost My Podcast. And so we talk about things like grief and working through grief, and not just working through grief, but mental health issues. Because
right.
On my journey of grief, I realized that I couldn't process grief the right way because I had a lot of mental health things that I had been suppressing that I haven't dealt with. So that's why this podcast is set up this way. And today we have another topic that is amazing, probably one of my favorites. So yeah.
So nevertheless, this podcast is a little different. This is the first one we've did, like waking up fresh out of bed. We brush our teeth and wash our face. You know what I'm saying? We ain't like that giving funky breath to the microphone. Put
on lotion.
Right now, I am drinking chai tea.
Can you tell them the story of how we discovered chai tea? First off, I worked at Starbucks in college, so I already knew chai tea, but
so I am a tea fan and never had chai tea. So let me tell you how we discovered it. One day we was out and about in Franklin, Tennessee, and we wanted some food. And I'm gonna give you, I'm that person to where I'm gonna give you everything that went on today. So we wanted some food. We went to this one restaurant. Food looked whack. After I always go in the restaurant and I kind of look at the tables to see what they serving. So it looked whack. And then it was two of us, and they told us it's like a what? It was like a 30-minute wait, and we like, this restaurant is technically empty, so don't know why it'd be that type of wait. So anyway, we leave. I find this restaurant, this Indian spot. I'm like, I never had Indian food, so I'm like, all right, let's drop through the Indian spot. So we eating and chilling, and
it was a buffet.
Come on, don't put all my business out there.
What you mean?
Well, no. I don't care. I don't care. I'm a big dog.
It was a buffet.
But the buffet is good for the simple fact that you're trying to learn something new. I never had Indian food. So I'd rather taste and be like, yeah, nay. So anyway, so now we're at this buffet, and we're indulging in these different flavors. Most of it was vegetarian, vegan. That's what was crazy.
My alley.
So with her being who she is, with her with her reluctance to eat certain foods anymore.
I'm trying to get right.
She was like, she really enjoyed it. But nevertheless, we sitting down and I'm like, dang, they like, you want something to drink? And I'm like, I'm a water nut, so I'm like, nah, I'm good water, and she's getting better with water, so I'm like, okay, let's try. They had this thing, it was like a hot tea, so I'm like,
it said Indian tea or something,
and it was like fresh flowers.
We thought it said flowers.
We thought it said had like flowers.
It said flavors,
but it said flavors.
It's how they wrote it.
So we went. I went and got it, and I'm drinking. I'm like, it looks more like a chocolate milk. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why is this tea milky looking? And why does it taste so good? And it's the flowers. Later on, we found out it was flavors.
Flavors. We was like, what kind of flowers is this? Hold on, because it tastes good.
So I'm talking to one of the server guys, and he's like, oh, you like the chai tea? And I'm like, oh.
He wasn't supposed to say that.
You weren't supposed to tell me that, my boy.
And being that I worked at Starbucks, I knew that tasted familiar. I just couldn't think of what it was. And I was like, it is chai.
So fast forward to now, we're at, I'm like, man, I just can't stop thinking about this chai tea. So I'm like, should I go to Starbucks? But I'm just like, ooh, $7 for it. I don't know yet. So I'm like, I want to try it at home first before I commit to that $7 purchase of a small.
small
tea. But anyway, so I'm like, I'm exaggerating. No offense, Starbucks. If you want to sponsor us or anything like that, just let us know. So we go to Target.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at Target, and of course I'm moving and grooving. I have this complex of looking at a ton of things, and she's like, we was in there for water. Just water. And so she's like, she goes to the teapot and she finds it, and she's like, I know Starbucks used to serve it out the box like this. So I'm like, cool, let's do that. So we get it, and the first time we drank it with water, we drank it with water, and
had a water aftertaste.
It was okay. I was like, ooh, this is kind of sweet. So I was like, we had oat milk. So we wanted cereal, and we bought oat milk instead of all the other milks in this world now. So I was like, let's just boil the oat milk and see how it comes out. And now we are here.
Yes.
With a chai latte. My mug says rejoice, and I am most definitely rejoicing in this latte.
But mine says
chai. Is it a chai latte? Whatever.
Chai latte.
Chai tea, chai latte.
Latte.
Chai amon.
Mine says make memories, celebrate every day. Life is good. Yeah. But anyway, let's go ahead and move forward in the podcast. So if this is your first time, we always check in.
Yeah.
How is your day, your mental? How's your mental today?
So my day is really just starting. It is the morning. So, hey, how is my day so far?
Labor Day.
It has yet to unfold all the way. So, with that being said, the sky is the limit. No, the sky isn't the limit, because you can go past the sky when you go into space. Could you not?
My bad. That's my song. I apologize.
Interrupted me on the mic.
I'm sorry.
But it is the start of a new week. It's gonna be a quick week, a 4-day week as far as our employment. So I'm gonna say it's a great week already. So
yes.
How about yourself? How you feeling today?
1 to 10 though. How do you feel?
1 to 10. I'm gonna give me about an 8 and improving.
In this moment, the power of now, I feel amazing. I'm still feeling the best I felt in a long time. Like I'm not too many bad days. So, I normally would probably say a 9.5. However, we went out to eat yesterday and had some beef, even though I tried to do turkey, but the specific place was out of turkey. So I just said, I'm going to do beef.
They said it was a turkey shortage, just a shortage on a bird. I like, come on, son.
So I had beef, and so it's messing with my tummy just a little bit, not super bad, but so I'll say I'm about an 8 today. Mentally though, my mental health is amazing today. So I give my mental health about a 9.5.
That's pretty solid.
Also, moving forward, before we get into this topic, which is might be a triggering topic, might be a tough one to maybe dependent upon our listeners. But we also do mindful breathing and mindful stretching because we want you to feel good, especially if you're listening or watching this podcast in the morning. So everybody take a deep breath in real slow. Breathe out slow. Breathe in one more time real slow. And breathe out through your mouth real slow. Go ahead and stretch wherever you are. Get those shoulders loosened up.
All right. My bad. Yeah, I'm good. I'm in.
Everybody feeling good?
I'm Gucci.
All right. So let's go ahead and get into this episode's topic. So today's topic, we're going to talk about trauma responses. Of course, anytime we have a topic, I like to Google just to simplify for our listeners and viewers. So according to Google, trauma response is the reflective use of over-adaptive coping mechanisms in the real or perceived presence of a trauma event. So basically, it's just the way we react to trauma. So if you had like something traumatic happen to you as a kid, it kind of trained our trauma responses as adults today. Maybe we don't know how to communicate, or maybe we shut down. But there's a reason for that. That's a trauma response. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I did find out that there are 4 different types of trauma responses, because even prior to us doing this episode, I was like, I really want to, once I learned to identify certain trauma responses I have, I was like, I really want to learn more about it, like at a beginner level. So there are 4 different types of trauma responses. One is fight, which I think all of us kind of know, at least 3 of them. One is fight. The second one is flight. The other one is freeze. And the last one I had never heard of is fawn. But oddly enough, I think I relate to fawn the most. But we'll get into it. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these trauma responses. Or one of the types of trauma responses. So let's talk about flight first. Flight is basically running away from the threat.
Flight is running away from the threat. Here's an example. Here's examples.
Okay.
You're workaholic. So sometimes you tend to see people who are, I
gotta work.
I gotta work. I gotta have 10 jobs. I gotta stay busy because. And maybe they start to make things in their head like, my mom wouldn't want me to stop. She wouldn't, but she does want you to think and have your moment, so don't overcrowd it, right? Next, we have the overthinker. That's self-explanatory. I'm just going to go down the list first. And she's probably better at, talking about it more. You got anxiety, panic, and OCD. OCD. Well, I'm gonna touch on that, guys. Not everything you do is OCD. I remember when the show VA
True Life.
True Life. I have OCD. When that came out, everybody started to say, "Oh, I have OCD." No, you don't. OCD is really when some people really can't move or can't really function. Like,
I'm one of those people. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm OCD about this," and it's like I'm not. I like things a certain way.
Yeah,
but it's not.
Be careful when you use that OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Difficulty sitting still. You're perfectionist. That's more so a lot of people, they become perfectionists. Avoidance, hyperactivity, and sadness and loneliness.
I was just listening to, I think it was Carisha Please, when Meg Thee Stallion was on there. And I think that's a trauma response that she has, just to make it relevant. The workaholic. I think we all kind of know some workaholics in real life, or maybe you're one. But she kind of was talking to her about just keeping busy. Like, she feels like she has to keep busy because, like, after losing her mom, being that her mom was there all the time at the start of her career, she's like, I'd rather not, like, think about it. I'd rather just work. And she's like, anytime I start feeling sad, it's like, oh, girl, no, let's book another show. I just don't want to think about it. Or maybe she wants to think about it, but not as in depth. So keeping busy is, it's her trauma response, because she's always been with her mom. But out of those things that you listed, is there anything that you feel is a trauma response for you? And how do you work with it, if you work through it at all? Just to remind you, there's workaholic, overthinker, anxiety, panic or OCD, difficulty sitting still, perfectionist, avoidance, hyperactivity, which those are 2 different things. I was going to contribute that to workaholic, but hyperactivity, I think, is like you just got to be up doing something just in the mix or whatever, or sadness and loneliness.
If it's any that I can say, it would probably be sadness and loneliness, and avoidance. That's my biggest thing. Like, I probably stop talking, and I go into my space and just, I get in my, I can't say it's overthinking, but I get in my head a little bit, and that's when I get like sad, but I'm by myself, and I will avoid some like, nah, I'm straight. I really dealt with this, and this is crazy. You won't think of it as a traumatic experience, but it was traumatic for me in college as far as my performance with grades. Me being so, okay, coming from coming from high school, I was like, I make these grades, and it just wasn't clicking for me in college as good as it was. And I was like, am I gonna have to go back home? Am I gonna fail? The fear of failure, it became very traumatic for me. So I became sadness in my loneliness. Like, I was avoiding a lot of parties, and though we know parties ain't just necessarily super good, but a lot of events, even if it was good events, I was just like, nah, I'm gonna stay in my dorm room. And was I studying? No, I was sad. And I was
just
like,
wanting to sit in your sadness.
Yeah, but yeah. So also, just a tidbit: traumatic experience can come from a plethora of different things. It's not just death. It's not,
somebody used to beat me when I was younger. Yeah. It's not always necessarily that. It could be the way somebody speaks to you.
Yeah.
It could be like your fear of something, like you said, fear of going back home and failing. Like,
yeah. So it can be just trauma can come from a lot of different avenues in your life. It doesn't have to be this big, grandiose, like somebody just got, killed in front of me, or, stuff like that. So I experienced trauma on that level, and I never talked about this, so.
But also, okay, because some people may not connect. It's like, oh, you just had a fear of going home, but explain, like, weren't you in the top 10 of your class and coming from high school? So you probably had an expectation to live up to in high school, coming to college, and you felt like you weren't, like,
so
living up to it.
Yeah. When I thought of college, so born in Memphis, Tennessee, when I thought of college, I was, out of my mama kids, the first and only. Well, no, my sisters kind of touched it a little bit, but coming from a family that wasn't rich in college education, I didn't want to be stuck. I didn't want to feel like staying in Memphis, which we know with the wrong people around you, it can get real grimy. So staying in Memphis wasn't something that I wanted to do. I kind of feared, like, what if I fell into the wrong trap? I seen my dad go to jail. I seen all this. I seen people die. I seen people get killed. Like, stuff, different crazy stuff. A lot of trauma. So a lot of trauma taken in. So you can only imagine the drive I wanted to be successful. And like we said, coming from high school, okay, I played basketball, football. I had the good grades, graduated top 10. It was a small class, but anyway, it's an achievement. I did theater. I was just doing all this stuff to stay busy, to stay out the way, to stay motivated to do great things. So feeling like I could go back to the cesspool of not good things, that's
scary for you.
That's scary. That's scary. Like, like my mom, she just always instilled me, like, go do something good. Go, go be better than what I am. And, just wanting to be free. And when I got a taste of that freedom, like going off to college, I know she cried. My stepdad was like I talked to him, and she was like, boy, not even 15 minutes down the road, she in a big ball of tears or whatever.
That's a mama for you. Because you a baby, of course.
So, getting that taste of freedom as far as like, okay, now I can make this life for me. Like, I think I changed my Facebook name to Joshua Success Driven. Like, it was in my mind to be successful. And I'm still on that quest, and I've succeeded in a lot of things. So I am grateful and understand that now. But yeah, it was traumatic to even think about going back to where I came from. So.
And kudos to you, because you ended up graduating with your chemistry degree. One of the only I think you was the only black person that did that.
I think I was the only black person. If not one more person, but hey.
So kudos for that. Even through your, trauma response, like, you still made it out. I think for me, out of those, I want to say for sure avoidance.
Okay.
because I think, and I try to like, I'm an observer, so I observe like how everyone in my family handles certain situations, and I feel like as a family we avoid a lot of things. I think a part of the Black household, at least, there's a lot of things you don't talk about. It gets swept under the rug. Like, I've just now found out certain things about older family members that I'm like, what? That happened? Da-da-da. And so it makes sense when I'm like, okay, why do we not as a family have tough conversations that needs to be had? We all experience avoidance because there's some huge traumatic experience that's just happened generations before me and it just trickled down. So a lot of times, like, if something bothers me, instead of like confronting it or bringing it up, I'm like, I'm just avoid it, or we just not gonna talk about it. I'm just gonna let it rot, and I sit with it, and it messes with me, which trickles or turns into either panic or anxiety, which I also have had from time to time. So I think those are probably my flight. With anxiety, I'm trying to think flight. Where I think some anxiety comes from just not knowing what's going to happen next. And I think the traumatic experience from that ultimately is losing my mom, since I was literally right there. So I always have a fear of, like, I don't know what's going to happen next. Because I think back, like, even when she passed, I thought, like, okay, well, she's just having breathing issues, whatever. We'll, as long as I can get her to the bed, she's going to be fine. It's like, no, she actually died. Like, so it's like, no, I got to know what's going to happen next. I got to know. And even in other stuff, whether it's work, whether it's friends, whether it's our marriage, like, I think I create my own anxiety from not knowing what's going to happen next and but focusing on that. So
would you also say you become like the overthinker in situations?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And that feeds to my anxiety too, I guess.
Yeah, because I asked that in the sense of like, okay, I have this thing where I can just, after I talk to myself enough, I'm just gonna jump. Mm-hmm. Now, I see when I try to get you to do certain things, you're like, no.
Because I don't know what's gonna happen next.
You're going in your brain overthinking. Like,
yes, and because I've always been a person that's kind of, I guess it's own subject still, but I've just always been a person that played it safe, or I felt, I can't even put it on people. I've always felt people put me in a certain box. So I've been like a prisoner to that box. Like, okay, this is how people expect me to react and think. And so when it comes to doing something outside of that box, I'm like, I don't know. And then I start overthinking, then it creates anxiety. Then I'm getting better at it though. I'm getting closer to just being like, forget it. Like, we just gonna jump out.
So there. Have you had instances where you just was like, okay, I'm taking control of this and I'm gonna do? In the recent year or so?
Yeah. Even doing our segment that's at the end of our podcast episodes, Poetry in the Park. Like, I always had a talent to write, but it was only in the comfort of my room at home when I was younger. I never would have been like, if you would have told me like I would perform ever doing anything, I'd be like, no, because one, I thought growing up, I thought nobody saw me because I was so quiet. So it's like, do I even have a voice? Do I even, so
overthinking it, because you picked the right one. I was gonna
go by that, like, I was like, I overthink, but now that you put it there, I do overthink, and that's why I experience anxiety sometimes.
So the biggest thing, she is good at poetry. She said she did it, and I was like, go ahead and do it.
I won Maya Angelou contest, but I didn't perform it. I
beat Maya Angelou
like in middle school, yeah.
Baby, no, just
we would not do. No, sir.
Oh, I want another chai tea. I'm sorry.
Did I finish mine? Okay, anyway, let's move forward. So the next one is fight. So this is confronting the threat. Some examples of fight trauma response is anger outbursts, being controlling or the bully, explosive behavior, irritability, judgment, slamming doors, and self-harm. With fight, so, okay, as a trauma response, fight, maybe something happened, well, you were threatened, and, well, maybe you can, I won't say that. I don't know, something just happened in people where they just feel they have to fight back, or maybe they couldn't.
Did I do something?
No, I was finna. Never mind. Erase what I just did. But anyway,
Nah, speak it. Go ahead, speak it. We gonna keep it G
no,
real.
okay. So I was gonna ask, have you experienced either one of those? But I was gonna try and explain fight as a trauma response, because maybe as kids, I think Will Smith is probably an example. I didn't read his book, but Charlemagne. I always looked at Charlemagne because he has really good book suggestions. But you know, when that incident happened with Will Smith and Chris Rock, he was saying how his book talked about, I guess his mom. I guess he witnessed his mom being abused or something, and he felt he couldn't help her then. So now, I guess people put him in a box, this nice guy box, and he feels like now he has to like take control and like fight back when there's a threat, and even though that's not his technically his image. So I think that's why the thing with him and Chris Rock was a trauma response for him, because maybe he was like, nah, he's offending my wife, like, no, I gotta handle it, because he couldn't as a kid. So that was, I guess, the example I was trying to think about. But is there any of these that you experienced, or anything you want to say on this trauma response?
Me personally, no, I haven't. As far as a trauma response, I haven't experienced any of those. I'm very docile and calm. So all the anger outbursts, controlling the bully, explosive, nah, that's not me. That's just not my forte. That's not how I got down. I'd rather be alone and understand and think, overthink sometimes. That was just, I was more with the flight. But I have seen instances where I have seen people like, they going through it at home. Like, even when you meet their parents and their parents, you like, oh, they nice to you, but they hard on them. They like extra hard on them. And so that can lead to like a lot of the youth having like, a lot of kids had like anger management. I ain't gonna lie. I got a couple homeboys where, you know what I'm saying, to me, they parents are like, I'm like, oh, they cool. But after we dig deep into certain situations that they went through, they be like, nah, this happened, Josh, or that happened. And then you see, like, some of my tougher buddies, they had that anger management. Like, sometimes they'll go to 10 and you be like, you know what I'm saying? I could talk to you and calm you down and be like, hey, bro, chill. Like, just think about it. But now they really struggle with, like, the outburst and, what was it, outburst, controlling. I got one homie, like, he don't know, but he's extra controlling. But, you know what I'm saying? I have seen this as a result of, like, the traumatic things that he's seen and been through. So,
I don't want to say, I will say at a point in time in my life, I've experienced at least, I've experienced self-harm when I was younger. I think the only person I ever told was my mom. Like, I literally tried to like cut myself and self-harm basically, just because I was a bigger child and I didn't look like my classmates, and I created, I guess, a self-image in my own head, like I don't look like these people, or I'm quiet, they're not giving me attention, or like so when I was younger, that probably was a trauma response to just not, in my mind, not fitting in. When I look back, I was like, I was cool with everybody, but in my mind I was like, well, I'm so quiet, nobody knows me. And I will say, I think that I've experienced anger outbursts just from a situation maybe I had in my family. I've always had a fear of, maybe that's my fear of speaking up sometimes, because I feel like, I guess I've hidden so many emotions or certain things over time that when I do speak up, I always have that fear that it's going to come out super angry and I'm just going to lose control. And I did have an instance with a family member where we were trying to talk and we had a disagreement. And it was like the first time in a long time that I like blew up to the point where I blacked out and I like threw like a speaker, and like just my fear came true. And so I say, but it was a trauma response of like holding things in and not talking about, avoiding certain tough conversations that need to happen. And so I will say that's not typically how I handle things, but I do have a fear of like not being, you know, confrontational, or, you know, so we'll move to the next type of trauma response.
So, you want me to take it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Sure.
so the next trauma response we're going to talk about is freeze. So it's the act of shutting down to block out the threat.
Mm-hmm.
So things you see in the freeze, I guess the freeze category is like difficulty making decisions, feeling stuck, dissociation, isolating, numb, shut down, exhaustion, indecision again, and sleeps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want me to? I think I identify with freeze too. I do shut down a lot. Again, it comes from the avoidance. Like, I think. Well, I'll speak for myself. I do sometimes have difficulty making decisions. And I think we had just to have a transparent moment. It was a while ago. Where was we? We were in Atlanta. We took a trip to Atlanta, and I forgot where we went, but we were trying to make a decision as to whether Botanical Gardens. And we were like, oh, should we go in? Should we not? Should we? And we kind of both ended up kind of getting a little not flustered, but whatever. Okay, we both couldn't make a decision. Like, he was wanting me to make a decision, I was wanting him to make a decision, but I was explaining in other realms of my life, other areas of my life, I'm always the decision maker because no one seems to be able to be like, okay, I'm gonna make this decision. And so, that stemmed from a brief disagreement we had. But I think that sometimes that is true for, I'll say us sometimes. I do feel stuck a lot. Isolating.
Well, before we leave that disagreement that we had back in Atlanta, we did have a sit. We had a sit and come to Jesus meeting, we didn't yell at each other, but we real deal was like, yo, this is why, and talked about it. And I can say my decision and her realm of that other realm of life, she's making a lot of decisions, and so I had to put it in a point in my realm, my other realms of me being the go-to leader, me being the go-to, you got this, Josh, you ain't gonna stumble. But when I grew up, I was like, okay, when I started making choices and I make that bad choice, they about to get on mom's about to get on my ass. So, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I was in that moment I had to explain, I just been making a lot of choices lately for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We both were at that point. And I was like, I just want.
We both wanted to relinquish the power.
We wanted to be
make somebody.
At that one time, I think both of us just I don't want it to be on me. So I never. Here's the thing. I do have a trauma response to that. That difficulty making decisions. It's at minute points though, because sometimes it'd be oh, you want to do this? I'm I ain't gonna make this decision because if it fails, then somebody gonna blame me, and I don't like that blame. Cause like I said, when I made them little simple mistakes back in the past, hey, I had to eat that. Mom's on my look. Yeah. Hey, I love her to death for it, but
yeah. Numb. I kind of talked about it in my book. With certain traumatic experiences, I do numb myself. With grief, I will say with grief, rather than feel initially. Rather than feel okay, your mom's not here process, I did go to a place in my mind where I was I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. Or and I talked to my grandma. I talk about my grandmother every episode. Shout out to Mama Nisi. But I was just talking to her about losing her sister. She's almost 90 years old. So, of course, she's seen death. But we kind of handle death the same way. She doesn't want to see, she doesn't really look at, pictures of her sisters. Though she loves them, she doesn't really look at the pictures. She doesn't go to the grave sites. It's just, that's not what she want to do. And that's kind of how I'm beginning to be. Mother's Day, folks were you go put flowers on your mom's grave? And I'm I can't bring myself to do that no more. Or can you looking at pictures? We have pictures up of her around the house, but can I say I just sit and stare at them and I'm but I can't. But I go to a place of numbing in my head because I'm I just got an forward motion. I don't want to think about it. I love her. I always will. If you know how we rock when she was here, it's always love there in everything that I do. But I just can't. I got to numb myself in order for me to go forward. But again, that could all stem from avoidance. Everything seems to, for me at least, everything seems to tie back to avoidance. Just not handling situations, I guess. I wouldn't say I sleep a lot, not necessarily, but shutting down for sure for me. Shutting down, again, that comes from avoidance. Like, I'd rather, before I'm confrontational or whatever with you or disagree, and like, we have an amazing way of communicating where we don't have arguments. We literally communicate. If we're frustrated, like, okay, hear me out. But with other people, it's like so many people are real confrontational. And it's like, before I go there with you, because I have a fear of having an angry outburst like I did that one time, I just shut down. It's like, I'd rather not. You got it. Cool.
So with your shutdown, do you think that came from a trauma response way probably earlier in your life? Wouldn't you say? If you can, I don't know if you can pinpoint it, but
I think it comes from, I guess, in my household. My parents tried not to argue in front of me or my brother, but, you know, we live in a small house, so we were keen to certain stuff that was going on or what was said, or, you know, if they had disagreements. And I just remember, like, a couple times just hearing them argue sometimes, and I was like, bro, I don't know, just hearing arguments. It used to trigger me to hear people, like, argue. I'll be like, I don't like it, I gotta go the other way, or like, you know, and so I guess it shuts down because I'm like, I don't want to grow up like that, or I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be unhappy and I can't communicate. Like, so I think that's why. Was it one of the other parents
was it one or the other parent that yelled at you? Were you yelled at?
Or? Not necessarily. Well, sometimes it was me, depending on things.
Or let's say, was yelling or criticizing what was the
yelling and criticizing, honestly. Yelling and criticizing, and even outside of that parent, like growing up, I was a chubbier kid, so like the one time I did try to get into modeling when I was younger. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I was like, the one time my mom was like, okay, you want to jump out there and do something, do it. I was trying to do modeling, and they put me in the box of like plus size. Keep in mind, I was like a size 8, though I was chubby, like I was smaller at the time, if that makes sense. But they were like, no, you're plus size kids model. And I was like, I don't know. It just kind of, I don't know. It was like a critique on top of other critiques from other people about like self-image issues that kind of made me like, I'm gonna just shut down. I don't want to feel, I don't want to process. My feelings is hurt, but I don't want to communicate that because I don't want to potentially get yelled at or, you know.
I was kind of trying to lead you to the point that criticism can cause destructive criticism, can cause trauma in a person. Mm-hmm. And like I said, not all trauma is just boom, I did this or I fell off the bridge or something like that. Nah, like that simple little I guess tidbit can hurt somebody. Like I'm gonna put this example. So I had this friend. I put it on me. I had this friend and I wanted these shoes, right? Mm-hmm. But this friend told me, nah, those wouldn't look right on your feet. You got too big of a foot. Mm-hmm. Now, they weren't being constructive in their criticism. They was being more destructive because I never even tried on a shoe. Mm-hmm. So how would you know? I never put this shoe with a fit. We never even tried it. Like, you just saw it and said, nah, don't do that. Don't do that, bro. So we gotta watch those things as people, not to be destructive to a person. Like, okay, how can we turn this? How can we turn that into constructive so we don't damage them and cause them to be? Because I started to build this thing like, well, I got big feet, I ain't gonna be able to get this shoe. Shoe shopping is horrendous for me.
Me too.
You know, shoe shopping is horrendous for me. So it's like, yo, son, I can't wear this. I won't wear this. And it's like, man, don't do that. Don't do that. So,
especially for kids, if you're a parent, I think some of our generation, some of us we're more in tune, but some of us aren't. Like, if you have kids, be aware of not necessarily what you say to them, but how you say it, because telling a child like you need to back away from the table, or you eating a lot, or you don't know what you're feeding that child. Like, I will say that when I got to college, I I don't know if we can. Nah, that's doing too much. But basically, when I was in college, I was 150 pounds. Now, because I'm tall, I was like really skinny. Like I looked really, 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 really skinny. And then over time, when I gained my weight back, looking back at it, I'm like, bro, I wish I was that small again. But at the time, I thought I was the same weight like I am now, or whenever I've been at my biggest. Body dysmorphia, which is something that's not talked about. That's what you're instilling in kids when you're young, and they have to hear all the time, well, you eating a lot, or even how you look at them, like when they eating. Like that's a big thing with me too. Like sometimes I hate eating around people because I'm like, are they looking at me? Because sometimes in elementary school, they used to, so in elementary school, they used to do it to everybody. It wasn't just me, but it was like a group of dudes in my class, and they just used to like pick with everybody, like, look how they chewing, look how they chewing, look how they chewing. So they got me one time, and I was like, I don't even want to eat no more. I was hungry. But I know we joking and we laughing at it now, but no, in real life, like, you can build body dysmorphia disorder in children that young. So be careful not to be so critical of their weight, or if they're gaining weight, or.
And I think a lot of people think like, I think a lot of people cop out with just words, you know. So it'll be, hey, watch what you eating, instead of telling them, okay, we done eating, let's go take a walk.
Or I'm gonna do it with you. Let's go to the gym with me.
Yeah, like, I'm saying like, don't even say it like, I'm gonna do it with you. Like, nah, come on, let's go.
Yeah, or
especially in kids, like show them the action, because they'll realize like, okay, I don't want to eat that much.
Build that habits.
Then I know mom or dad or somebody about to make me work out because I'm gonna throw up, and I don't want to do that. And I don't know nobody that like throwing up. Yeah, I think sometimes people get lazy in actually providing action to solve a problem, to be solution based. So instead they use these words thinking you will catch on, but in essence it's leaving that person to wonder, oh, this is deep. It's leaving that person to wonder, am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? Now they overthink. Oh my God. Hey, that's why we on this podcast.
Yeah,
that's why we on this podcast.
Discovering things.
Can I?
Yeah.
So as far as the freeze thing, difficulty making decisions, it's only in minute situations for me. Like I can make my decisions, and I'm gonna live on them and stand on it. So I ain't that type of person. Feeling stuck, I have dealt with feeling stuck a lot.
What do you think that comes from? Feeling stuck, like in your situation, or?
Yeah, I think that comes from like, okay, like I said, if I was criticized back in the day, or I did something wrong, I didn't like doing nothing wrong. So if I did something wrong and I'm stuck in that moment of, okay, am I doing right? Am I gonna do wrong? And it goes back to overthinking, but it's like all these chess moves I go in my head. And it's like all these chess moves, all these analysis of what could go wrong, what could go right, but I get stuck. It's analysis paralysis in real life and personal.
Moving forward.
You know what I'm saying? I know they talk about that in like business and stuff like that, but it's analysis paralysis as far as I'm overanalyzing things. I'm like, am I going? Should I go? Should I go now? Now. Stop. I'm just here. So it's like, yeah, I think freeze is probably the one that
you relate to the most.
I relate to a lot. Isolating, dissociation, I don't shut down much. I don't shut down. Exhaustion, like, yeah, I get mentally overwhelmed and I'm like, I'm tired. I don't sleep a lot. No. But I can tell you freezes, it is a trauma response for me. So let me take you back to the time I broke my mother's windshield. So it's a summer day. It's a summer day, and black parents, you're like, hey, mom, I'm hungry. There's nothing in the house. Are you coming home? You know, black parents have a knack to do this thing where they tell you, I'm around the corner. Stop calling me. I'm finna be there. Now, we know around the corner is...
They still at this stuff.
Around the corner is a bold-faced lie. It's a buck tooth lie.
They in the checkout line, matter of fact.
Matter of fact, she wasn't even at the store. She just told me that we gonna go get something to eat. So, I'm like, Mom, where you at? At this point, she's like, cursing at me. Boy, if you call me one more MFing time, we ain't going nowhere. So at this point, her and my stepdad is out. I'm pissed. So I'm like, man, I'm just hungry. I'm trying to go, and they been gone all day. And this, when my stepdad first came around, I had a little jealousy thing, like, man, you trying to take my mom away from me, bro. So anyway, so I'm like, man, they always gone, blah blah blah. So I'm just going in my head. So I'm like, okay, I'm going outside. I go outside. We had this tin roof type of carport, right? Carport, and I just wanted to make some noise or do something. So I think the sidewalk still messed up at Mama's house right now. So I took some little pebble rocks and I'm just throwing them on the tin roof. Clack, clack, clack. Clack, clack, clack. I'm like, man, I'm just pulling out my frustration. I'm like, man, I'm pissed. Man, blah, blah, blah. She clack, clack, clack. No. So I grabbed this one pebble. Now realize I did not lie. It was a pebble. But it is the summer in Memphis. It is humid. It is 100 plus. It's been 100 plus stint. So I go to throw it. I throw it. Whoa, whoa.
Not the sound effects.
So that's how the rock. That's how the rock.
In your
pebble
head, that's how it
is.
went.
Whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm like, man. Once it left my hand, I knew. I'm like, this one got away from me.
Well.
I like. I said, this one done got away from me. So instead of it going to the left to hit the tin roof, it goes to the right. And that's when it's woo, 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 woo. Boom. It hit the rear windshield. Is it the rear? So it, boom. All of a sudden, everything, you didn't hear no shatter. It just all because of the heat buildup. It just pop.
Dang.
And everything is like broken, but it's in place because of the heat. And I'm like, oh. So this one I learned that I was the freeze. This one I learned that was a traumatic experience because I knew I'm about to get my ass.
So what you do after that?
So what I did, I ain't freeze. I went in the house.
You ran.
And I went to sleep. Cause I just wanted everything to stop in that moment. I wanted to go numb. I was like, oh, that wasn't real. So I went to sleep like, okay, if I take a nap,
maybe it'll go away.
If I take a nap, bro, maybe this ain't even real, bro. Well, lo and behold, she pulls up, finally pulls up. Now, and see, that's what I'm saying. Black parents they a buck too fly because if I literally took a whole nap before you came home, that means you wasn't around that corner. So I got the front room, the closest to the carport, and the other one. So all out here, I'm a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. All out here is shattered glass. I'm like, what just happened? And my mom, Joshua, like that's when you know she mad at me. She called me my whole name, Joshua. So I go outside, opened up, man. You know, you kind of scared, like, man, what happened to my blah blah? She cursing now, and I'm like, man, I couldn't even lie, man. I said, man, I was throwing a rock. It wasn't even that big. And she was like, so I didn't get a whooping. Thank you, God. Shout out to my stepdad, even though I was mad at you because you took my mama. But shout out to him because he was like, don't whoop him. But, man, you talking about on punishment? Man, look.
Dang.
So, yeah, that's my story of freezing. I tried to freeze
down.
time. I tried to shut everything down. Operation disconnect.
Shut down.
We out of here. We out of here. This ain't even real no more. But yeah, I'm sorry, y'all.
But that's how trauma responses happen. Like some in your, for however you handle a situation, you can always go back and be like, okay, this is what happened when, this is why I handle certain situations because of stuff like that. Like, okay, this happened way back when, and that's how I react to it. So, but we got our last section, which is fawn. So I think I deal with this, I relate to this one the most, but I was unfamiliar with it. So fawn is basically appeasing the threat. So some examples of these are a fawn is people pleasing or being a people pleaser, feeling overwhelmed, no boundaries, lack of identity, codependence, appeasing, or just trying to live up to the expectations of whatever the threat is, engaging engaging is supposed to be engaging in self-critiques. So when I was looking more into detail of this, it was like sometimes the victims will even take part in their own, they'll take part in the threat with their abuser, in this, I guess, for fun. So it could be something like how I was saying, I kind of had self-critiques about like my weight. So if someone, this is an example, I'm not saying this happened, but it could be like somebody like, you eat a lot, you eat a whole lot. And I would be like, yes, I do. Or I'm not going to eat as much. Just basically doing things to appease the person, the abuser, or, whatever that threat is. I can say darn near just about everything, it applies to me. People pleasing. Because I did have critiques and I don't think I liked confrontation. I was just like, let me just say yes to everything. If you need me, yes, I'm there. Yes, I can do it. Like, I didn't know how to say no growing up to stuff because I didn't want to be talked bad about. Or I used to have this thing as a kid where I'm like, I wonder what people think of me. Like, am I not pleasing in their eyes? Or I wanted everybody to be like, oh, she's so nice, or she's sweet, or like I just wanted to be I just wanted people to have such a pleasant image of myself. And yeah, it comes from, I think, that self-critique. Feeling overwhelmed, yes, because I signed myself up, or even if I don't sign myself up to do things, I'll say yes to it even though I didn't want to say yes, and that would make me feel overwhelmed and just like, okay, this is too much, but you gotta go with it because what you gonna say? No, like, you gonna confront it? No boundaries. I literally am just now learning what boundaries is. Like, I apologize, thank you. What boundaries are, because again, I didn't know how to say no to a lot of things, or that I even could say no because I thought I was supposed to say yes. Codependence, I'm getting better at that too. I think us identifying certain generational patterns in our families, I'll say in my family, helped me to realize that certain people are codependent. And so I see that trait also in myself to an extent. I think I'm more do for self, but a large part of me is codependent. So I'm trying to teach myself how to do things for myself, like going out in public, socializing. I had an event I went to with a homegirl just because I was like, I want to go to this event, but I don't want to go by myself. And we went. But then there was a second event that I was like, should I tell her? But then I was like, no, I feel like this is something I have to do by myself because I don't want to be codependent on anyone. I want to be able to stand on my own.
And I'm gonna speak for that event. I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of like, oh wait, girl, you go by yourself.
And it was at somebody's house too, so it's kind of, but it was like a women's support group, which was, I'm very glad I went to. But yeah, all of them. Lack of identity, that goes back to me putting myself in a box of like, how do other people see me? They see me as the nice girl. They see me as the sweet one. They see me as she just gonna be quiet into herself, and it's like, that's really not who I am. I mean, I am nice, not saying I'm not, but
so in the book, The Master Herself, like that's what he talked about, wearing all these different masks that people need you to put on. They need you to be the parent, they need you to be the mama, they need you to be the spouse, they need you, but it's like sometimes do you know who you are at the core? Like when do you take the mask off and be like, nah, I'm just being Michi, I'm just being myself. I ain't got time to do all this stuff that y'all want me to do. Right now, I'm taking care of myself. So that lack of identity, it's a major trauma response. Like, I'm gonna wear all these hats to make people, to be in the faces of people, to let them know I know a person. I ain't gonna even call out their name. I wish I could, but it's somebody we know. I might just have to tell you off camera who deals with that lack of identity. But
somebody,
yeah, man.
you know, somebody I know. Never mind. We'll talk off camera.
She's a people pleaser.
We'll talk off camera.
Yeah. Sometimes we can't say it. But
yeah.
But
it's very common. I think that it's common amongst women because, depending upon, I'll just say, if we have fathers or not, and even if we didn't, there was that lack of maybe for whatever reason, well, outside of women, I think people as a whole, because I think my mom kind of went through it, when you don't have a presence of a certain parent, I think we start to think, well, was it me? Was I not good enough? So, I don't know, I was going somewhere with that. And then, were we on lack of identity?
Yeah.
I forgot. My bad.
People, please, it don't matter.
I had two intercepting thoughts and it left. But, yeah, I think, the people pleaser. Yeah, so we feel like we have to please people because maybe they won't leave us, or maybe it's me and I don't want to be the reason. And it's like, that's not even the case. But we live in our own heads to tell ourselves that story, and we try to people please, even in life. So I don't know, maybe that person had their parent, or maybe they had the parent there and they just felt like they weren't living up to.
So with the fun aspect, I'm going to take a different approach. The fun aspect, I'm not necessarily, I don't necessarily resonate with that in my personal life, but I do resonate it usually in work life. So if I can go back to certain situations in work life, I've dealt with this type of situation. And you be like, how is that a traumatic experience? Well, when you grow up in the South, and you get opportunities that not everybody else get opportunities of, people start saying, well, Josh, don't, you know what I'm saying, take advantage of the situation. Don't act like this, or if you do this, you might lose your job. Where your counterpart, who doesn't look like you, or is a different shade of you, can do the same thing, but you can't. So in that aspect, that's where I probably have experienced the most fawn-ish type of, you know what I'm saying, category, because you become, you damn near become a yes man, because now you're hearing all these thoughts in your head. Well, Josh, you don't want to mess up this good opportunity. It's good money. Or Josh, you don't want to look back over your life and see that you could have been this. And it's like, when do we, it's that trauma that built up that, okay, now it's back to me. Now it's, I can fail. When in actuality, I can take a chance on myself and look at their company and do 10 times better. And what is that? Oh, that's entrepreneurship, but we're afraid of it. So that trauma of being afraid of like entrepreneurship, that has led me down in my multitude of career changes and jobs and stuff like that. That's led me to be in those positions, people pleaser.
Yeah.
I can say I was a people pleaser. Like, hey, Josh, can you do this? Even though it's not, I know I have a lot on my plate. I'm like, okay, I can do it. I can do it. But then guess what that leads to? That leads to Joshua being what? Overwhelmed. And then it becomes no boundaries, because some people are just takers. Some people are going to take. They're going to see what they can. They're going to see, okay, here go an inch. He gave me an inch. Oh, another inch. Oh, I'm going for the gusto. I'm finna go for that mile. Then guess what? You lose the lack of self. Now you in here trying to fit in. Now you in here trying to be somebody you not. So what you doing? You lacking your identity. Like, to the core, I'm a cool, chill guy. I laugh. I like to have fun. But now I lost myself in trying to be, I'm chipper. I get the work done. Yeah. Yippee. Like, no.
Same.
But yeah, appeasing, engaging. And the biggest thing is you're your own self, you're your worst self-critic, you know? Now you're in that joint. And
I'm going to be honest and say a lot of us experience fine on the job. Because I was raised that way too. How my mom, she always taught me, you show up for it, you be on time, you do your best, don't slack, you got to make a name for yourself at whatever job that you do. And so like that has followed me. I always had a fear of getting fired, because like I saw my mom's work ethic and how hard she just would go on her job, until I got laid off from a company. It wasn't even my fault. Like, they laid off my whole department. And I was like, And some things happened with that, and I've got another job I'm currently at. But even in my position, it got to a point where I'm like, I'm appeasing so much, and I'm working hard, and I'm like, see my work ethic. But then I guess the disconnect comes when you like, bro, I'm doing all this work and the pay not matching up. So now I'm like, But we do appease to keep a job, because a lot of us fear being fired, or maybe it stems from slavery. I don't know, but I think a lot of us deal with falling on the job.
I did have a fear of being fired, and I've never been fired, but let go. That was when I opened my eyes to be like, okay,
you disposable on the job anyway.
Yeah, so
all of us.
It's like in that sense of me realizing like, and I'm giving you my all. I'm giving this job my all. I'm showing up on time. I'm talking to clients and doing the best thing, but they like, hey. And it happened one time, and it happened another time. So I'm like, okay. So that's when I realized you are disposable. So what's the point of me trying to go above and beyond? And some people might listen to this and be like, you can't. But look, I am not a people pleaser. We are on this earth. I'm a firm believer in this.
To live our purpose.
To find your purpose, to understand why you're living, why you're here. Why you're here is just a big experience of understanding. Mm-hmm. So to be someone's employee number and not like, come on, bro, that ain't life to me. So with that being said, that's when I learned that, hey, I ain't finna be no people pleaser. Mm-hmm. Do sometimes I still struggle with it? Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm not perfect sometimes, and not every time you're gonna sit in the moment and be able to catch it. Mm-hmm. But am I getting better with it? Hell yeah. Now,
same.
I can say usually in the beginning of a job, if I'm starting a transition into something, in the beginning, of course, I'm trying to figure out things. So I'm trying to see things. So that's when I struggle the most. But once I learn that MFer, you ain't gonna be, I'm gonna be a bad boy. I'm gonna be a bad, shut your mouth. Cause you ain't finna get over. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people get over in these positions. So you gotta watch that. You gotta watch that like a hawk. Like, I see it from a mile away. So in the beginning, we're going to play the game. We're going to play the game. And that's when I struggle a little bit trying not to get lost in the game. But yeah.
So with those four, I'm just going to give a few more examples. These are just random. You and yourself, now that you know the 4 different types of trauma responses, you can figure out which goes where, what falls under what category. But maybe you relate to some of these things because you do some of these things. I wanted to say addiction as a trauma response. I feel like that, for me, I think is a part of avoidance, because I speak from a personal standpoint. I feel like I talked about it either on my personal YouTube channel or this podcast. But I feel like I had a food addiction. Ironically, being self-critiqued about my image as a child, it felt like I didn't want to be big, but food felt good to me. And if I'm gonna go through these self-critiques and just all this bad stuff, I'm gonna eat to feel better, instead of just sitting and figuring. Of course, I was a child, so I didn't have the analytics to to be like, let me sit and dissect why I want to eat so much. But now that I'm older, I'm like, okay, this addiction I had, or like I finally told him now that it doesn't happen. He used to work near Krispy Kreme's near our house, like his little department, wherever it was, like 2 blocks up from Krispy Kreme's. And before I used to go see him on his lunch break, I would literally like stop by Krispy Kreme's and get like a half a dozen donuts and eat the mugs, at least eat 2 of them before I saw him, but I would hide them. And I would just eat sweets like that. And I can't even, I do not eat sweets like I used to. I think I overdid it. But it's like I didn't want to handle what the issue was, because I was like, I'm just going to give in to my food addiction. And I think a lot of people, if they just stop the vice that they have and sit and think like, why am I doing this? What am I trying to hide? What am I trying to not confront? It's uncomfortable, so people don't. It's avoidance. It's like, I don't want to avoid what the root of this addiction is, so I'm gonna just still have my addiction. Not self-accountability. You don't want to even admit that you have an addiction.
I mean, I have to agree that addiction is a big thing, and you have to sit in it and realize. You got to realize what it is. I too can say I struggle with the food aspect of it. Mm-hmm. Growing up, seeing certain things in a household, and mom, dad separate, and Now you got to spend time with dad. You know, you with mom mostly, but you got to spend time with dad, and he don't know what to do. He just like, I got my kids. It was me and my little sister all the time. So I'm gonna go and get them junk food. So I think I became addicted to junk food. Like one thing that I can't live without is, I feel like it, but I can't live without it. It's chips. I love chips, but I remember always to the corner store, me and my little sister, my baby sister go, I gotta get her the same chips. We gotta eat the same chips, cause dad like, hey, I ain't finna have y'all arguing. But like my addiction to junk food and stuff like that, it's a real thing. Like that addiction to food, because even when you go through you'll go through a spell in life. Like I said, we're not perfect. Don't ever think that. We go through spells in life where something just knocks you off your pivot. So now you like, okay, what I'm finna do? I'm finna eat some junk food. I'm finna go eat something that's not healthy. And man, you gotta watch that. Over these later months and stuff, I've been getting a lot of compliments. Well, Josh, you losing weight, and I'm proud of it, but it's because I've been telling myself like, yo, son, like,
through it outside of it. Yeah.
I'm like, yo, son, this ain't it. Like, and even I've gotten, like she said, she used to do the whole grab some donuts things. Like I used to, man, I'm finna go out to eat. I know this food ain't finna be enough. Let me just get a double cheeseburger. I know in college I really struggled with it. That time away from home and trying to find yourself and realize, like, I was in college working 2 jobs on top of taking chemistry courses like physical chemistry, quantitative chemical analysis. I was going through it, and the president of the fraternity, and like I was going through it. But I started to hold on to this food aspects till I realized that wasn't even helping me. That wasn't helping me succeed. So that's when the first time I looked at food addiction, like, damn.
It's a real thing.
It's
like people don't think that's an addiction. It is a real thing.
So I went a further step to like go and I was struggling with physical chemistry. And I went a step to be like, okay, what can change? And I real deal fasted. I fasted for about a week. Well, it was a fast, but I only did like fruits, vegetables, and my energy spiked. And I was like, huh? So I was waking up at 5 o'clock and staying all the way up to 11:1. I was this working 2 jobs. This is, you know what I'm saying? Staying up to come right back home and lay down and do all this again. And I'm just getting it. And my grades getting better. And I'm like, hold on. It's the things I was putting in my body. Like, though I was addicted to this food, but this food wasn't helping me. This food was actually hindering me a lot. So that food addiction is real. And we can't stop that. Like right now, like how she said she's sick of like sweets. I get sick. I'm gonna keep it funky with you. I still like food. But I'm gonna say I don't necessarily. I challenge myself to make my own food. So going out to a restaurant and just overindulging in their quick picks and stuff like that, I ain't with it no more. Yeah. Because I understand what it does to me. They ain't necessarily making it with care. Not everybody, some part, but they ain't making it with care. So with that being said, I'm gonna learn how to make it myself, make it even better, and not overindulge. So,
I think social media is an addiction we all collectively.
Hello.
It is an addiction.
Hello.
And to me, an addiction is anything that you cannot, like, I can't function without doing this thing. Social media is also something that we struggle with. Well, I'll say myself, I take accountability. I was doing good with not being on social media until we had to pub the podcast. And then I fall into the trap of, all right, it's uploaded. Let me just close out of apps. And I'm like, oh, Shade Room posted this. Oh, this is going on. Oh, and we back on that phone. So, if you're listening to this and you're like, addiction doesn't apply to me. Everybody has some type of addiction. We all collectively, it's a trauma response for a lot of us. Like, there's something in our lives, whether it's extreme or not, that we don't want to sit and think about and dive into. So it is a trauma response. Analyze that for yourself. I would say, were you going to add on to that?
Well, I wanted to touch on a little social media aspect.
Okay.
And this is where We have conversations all the time, and I'm like, I don't like it. Mm-hmm. No matter how much I'm putting this podcast, I can do the podcast because y'all can just hear my voice. But besides this, I don't necessarily like it because it's so smoke and mirrors. It's so fake, and everybody they're struggling. It's an addiction. It gives you that dopamine, that hit of somebody's paying attention to me.
Or we want to look like we're motivational, but we're struggling behind.
Right.
We're not living up to what we speak in. Like, it is smoke and mirrors
Right.
for
So
everybody.
It's like somebody give you a whole motivational speech and all this, and they not living it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've peeped over these last recent years, people will make up a whole scenario, a story, put it on a what is it, status on Facebook,
TikTok,
or under Instagram. Yeah, TikTok. Oh my God, part 1, part 2, and it's a lie the whole
it's
time.
fake, bro. You just trying to get engagement and followers and stuff.
Yeah, but because they want this attention, like people want to like be
seem important.
Yeah, so it's like it'll be a simple thing of a kid helping another kid. Well, why is this kid helping him? Now somebody has this off the wall opinion, and I'm gonna tell you how you know you're addicted to it. When you feel like anything you do, you have to put it on there. Mm-hmm. So at first I used I'm not a concert goer, but when I went to a concert, I'm like, okay. When I went to a concert, I'm like, okay, now I gotta record this whole concert. But no, bro,
you're not enjoying it.
Live in the moment. Mm-hmm. Live in the moment, because I can't say I didn't get paid to come and be a videographer for this concert. Hello. For this artist. So, bro, no. Hello. And let them have their art.
Or why not, if you want to record it for yourself. But I think social media has made all of us, and I recently stopped doing it. Even when I'm with my friends, like, I'll do one video like, haha, I'm with them, and then I'm like, all right, cool. But like, I have been that girl that I'm like, nope, best friend just took a bite. We out. And you gotta like post every moment, or like at the concert. And then when you think about it, it's like, I really didn't enjoy it because I wasn't in the moment. I didn't see when he put his water bottle down and he did a little spin move, because I was like, okay, stop recording. You know what I'm saying? So I think it causes us not to live in the moment.
I just say to anybody who is addicted to everybody who is, just be mindful. Nobody has to know how many girls you slept with, or you know what I'm saying, the money you flash, like, is hurting us. Your addiction to it is hurting the people as a whole. Like, get off of it. Find some.
I mean, people gonna do what they want to do. We're not being the judgmental people. Like, do what you want to do, but we're just saying, be aware. If you're one of those people that like, oh, I gotta put on social media, my life is lit. In real life, assess that for yourself. Yeah. Is my life as lit as I'm portraying it to be, or am I just adding to my own highlight reel?
Yeah. And
that's all we're saying. Yeah, live your life, show your life, live it up.
If that highlight reel ain't beneficial to your real life, you in real life, man, let it go, bro. Let that ego get up out of there.
I say that personally. I used to all the time. Yep, I'm out. I'm happy. I'm cute. I got my makeup done. Girl, I'm in the house chilling. Like,
if they want to, whoever you putting on for, if they want to fool with you, they gonna fool with you regardless of that camera and that video you post. Hello.
Facts. Okay. Next thing, and then I'm trying to make these quicker. But over explaining was one that I wanted to touch, because I find myself doing that a lot, or I have over the years, and sometimes I'm getting better with like not having to over explain. If somebody asks me to do something, usually I'm like, okay, well, I gotta say no, but let me tell you why I gotta say no. It's because da-da-da-da. And I think that comes from being gaslit as a child, like being questioned, being like, okay, do you really have to, or they gonna think I'm lying, or like, you know. So I think having to over explain yourself is definitely a trauma response. Do you feel like you've had to over explain anything? I don't think you
nope.
You pretty much cut and dry. That's me, but that's also my people pleaser. Like, if it feeds into that one, like, if I'm gonna say no, let me at least let them feel comfortable with my no, because I had to do this, and that's why I can't do your thing, and and it's like, you just know I can't do it today. No. So another one was, and we talked about this yesterday, kind of, either not wanting to be alone, like being clingy or either wanting to be alone, being like isolated. I feel like those are trauma responses because maybe growing up, I'll say in my case, I like to isolate because I grew up just being on my own in my room, creating my own world, my own view. Like everything was agreeing in my room by myself. So I find comfort being by myself. But there are people who are like, I want to be around people because I'm used to making them laugh, or I'm used to, I don't know, I just have to be around, or I've been alone as a child. Like I don't know what alone is, or, you know, there's different variations of that. So I think.
So let's talk about it just to let them in. I don't mind. So she has this thing with me. She says, and now that we're talking about it, now it comes to me why I do it. I'm not necessarily clingy or codependent, but like she says, sometimes Josh, just chill out. I'm trying to process, and you trying to be funny, though I am funny. She's like, sometimes she just doesn't need it because she's trying to process. And I can't say now, thinking about it, why do I do it? It's a trauma response to me not having you be in your head. So I feel like I'm protecting you. Now I realize what I'm doing it for, because I seen the things we went through with mom and the crying and constant tears. And when my wife cries, nigga, oh my bad. Beep. But when my wife cries, I cry on the inside too, because you don't want nobody you love to feel hurt and be going through that. So, and a lot of times I was giving her space to kind of process when moms was going through it and stuff like that. And I felt like that's when she was crying. I heard the sniffles and I'm like, oh no. Like, don't be crying. So I run in there like, yeah, I know you going. Let me just cheer you up a little bit. So that's where it comes from. Actually, it's not me.
That makes sense.
I'm just trying to. I'm like, I don't want you crying. I don't want you crying because, like I said, it hurts.
And see, I'm a only say this is a Scorpio thing because every Scorpio I know does this. Like, we like attention and to be loved, and that, you know. I won't say you're not clingy, but the best example I can give is being like more clingy. But it's like we like that, but we do need our space. Even if it's a minimum of 30 minutes to an hour, we just need a little bit of space to ourselves. And a lot of times it's to process. A lot of times it's like, okay, I woke up this morning. Well, I'll be darned. Like, I didn't think I would make it this far. Or it might be something happened yesterday that I'm like, okay, could I have handled the situation better? It might be, darn, I woke up and I miss mom. Whatever it is, we need space to ourselves to just be, I don't know, we just need space to ourselves. It's our comfort zone of like, okay, I got me. You got you, I got me. Like, and so I think what happened with us yesterday was I had just woke up, and like, I like to wake up in silence sometimes. Normally it's checking my phone, but we had that discussion too. We changing up our routine. But for the most part, I just kind of need silence, like loud noises or being super like, hey, babe, it's like, whew, okay. And then that's what produces attitude. But it's like, it's not that I just want to give attitude. It's just, I need my space. So I say with couples, that may be a trauma response for your party. Figure that out for yourself, and work through it, communicate it without ego. Because I'm glad we had that conversation. I was like, well, I don't want you to feel like I don't appreciate you, like, coming and providing jokes and laughs to my life, because I always love that. But it's just a time, you know, certain times I just need, you know. My quietness is not like, oh, it's joke time or I'm sad. It's like I just need moments to myself. But also, I like you just explaining that, because it makes sense. Like, now I was like, oh, it makes sense. I'm like, he's doing it for some reaon because I'm quiet, but why is that? So yeah, working through trauma responses together.
Like I told her, like I told you, I don't like social media, and she is on this journey to heal and learn more stuff about energies and stuff like that. So I told her, like, okay, if you got up, went to the other room and meditated or something like that, hey, I know. It's like, I know that. But if you sit and look at the phone, I'm like, don't get into that, because I feel like once you look in that phone, like you finna get bombarded with some off the wall stuff. It can be 5 a.m. you seeing somebody get murdered. Like that ain't cool. But I mean, that's not me to I can't save the world. I have that complex too. That maybe that's a trauma response. But I can't save the world, so I learned I got a big back. I gotta be cool.
I want to also give you your props for helping me stay self accountable too, because you said something. We literally had the conversation of like, okay, instead of grabbing your phone in the morning, try going in the room and meditating, because are you gonna put on social media that you meditate and and you're not actually doing it? And I was like, aside from this podcast, I haven't. So thank you. I'm going to start this week. For real. Like, I didn't grab my phone this morning. Like, but that's what you do in relationships. Like, allow your person to hold you accountable and work through stuff together.
Yeah, it's like, and it's like, remember what somebody says and what they want. Like, granted, they may not be working on it, but maybe they just need that little reminder, maybe that little tap on the hip. Like, come on, get back on it. Get back on the horse. Like, so that's where I come from. And I know sometimes it go extreme. Like I explained to her, sometimes I'm extremist because I try to become this perfectionist and try not to make too many mistakes, because if I make too many mistakes, I feel like somebody's judging, which I've gotten better. Like, I really don't care. You can judge or not. You can say you hate my poetry, and I'm going to say, your mom's nah, just playing. Whoa. Whoever threw that, your mom's, nah, just saying. But nah, man, I just like to keep it G real, man. And
the last one that I agreed with, I promise it's the last one. It was seeking constant escapism. So I said I related to this because in my room, I guess one of my addictions used to be music. I would always my headphones, that alone time I was just talking about. Like, sometimes I'd be like, I just need my space. I just want to listen to music. And it wouldn't be anything you would do. For me, growing up, I would put on my headphones. I would listen to so many different genres of music. And like, ideas would just come to me for like movies and script. It sounds extreme now, but now it's making sense, the direction we're moving into. But it's always come to me, this other lifestyle, I guess, a way for me to escape like reality. I would make stories and be like, okay, I'm gonna make a movie about this, and this would be the soundtrack for this. But for me, that was a way to constantly escape. And I said that as an example because yesterday when you gave me space, and I was like, let me put on my headphones and listen. I couldn't even listen to music the same way. It's like I don't have that same fulfillment feeling with music, and my thoughts, they weren't coming to me like they normally would, because I feel like I'm actually putting action into my reality to go towards certain things. But I will say that is a trauma response. When you're living in a certain environment, whether it be music or whatever, you tend to go that route to try and escape. So kind of like a Precious moment. We kind of make that reference on a few episodes, but literally like daydreaming about, I'm a superstar and da-da-da.
So we good?
Yeah.
So with that being said, it's going to lead us into none other than Poetry in the Park. And is it my turn?
It's your turn, Husky Hefe.
So with that being said, we about to hop into this Poetry in the Park, and I'm gonna give you a little explanation about this poem.
Are you gonna explain now, or should we just go to the park?
Let's just go to the park.
Hey, let's get some fresh air. Like, we woke up and everything. Let's be out.
We was trying to disappear on y'all. Let's disappear.
All right, one more time.
What's up? It's your boy Husky Hefe, the Fat Fitness model, Jose Cortez, and this Poetry in the Park. Take 3 for me. Take 3. This poem is entitled Daydream. Daydream. It's like I fell asleep beneath the flowers for just a couple of moments. You see, it's past tense. I was only free in the past sense because this moment was lackluster. See, I'm staring in the distance to grasp on to something different, a new image of a life worth living, something the B.I.G. would live, big pun intended. I only do this when it gets overbearing, and because I stay still, my false reality makes it underwhelming. Hard for you to figure me out. Quiet as kept like the Christmas mouse. The one that actually ate the cookies that moms left out. You see, Santa must have came through the front door cause we ain't got that type of house. And you gifted us struggle after struggle because you ain't got that type of spouse. So instead of talk, I just daydream. I fell asleep only for an hour just to hide from your powers. In this castle I built, I have no need for bridges to burn. I got rooms inside of rooms, my riches I earn. I'm that glitch in the matrix. I choose to fight off assimilation. I show you that it's okay not to fit in. Constant knock, knock, knock. Hey man, you good? My bad. I was caught up in my daydream. You see, I used this space to find clarity and understand why when I finally make it out of this hell, I'm obligated to give back to charity of hurt. Now that's really effing with my daydream. Am I really the true owner of my daydreams? I'm on the podium, ready for y'all to hear my cry and fight. I'm about to go to war. I'm all Vaseline and lotioned up. Take a swing. You can't win in my daydream. I'm a bad mother, shut your mouth. I'm colder than ice on cream. I built this scene, brick by brick. I had to, as a trauma response for being misled by a sorry second. Hold on, let me get back to my daydream. Looking at it.
All right, y'all. So first of all, snaps and claps for the poem. Y'all heard them bars, okay? I appreciate that we both are growing with each Poetry in the Park segment. So you did that, sir.
Right. So that it took a lot to record. Did it on the fly, but nevertheless, I feel like that's gonna be my first piece that I just get memorized and get it going, cause it's just a daydream.
And that's your favorite, one of your favorite songs or your favorite artist?
So, I'm a let me put my leg up. I'm a Lupe Fiasco fan, and of course I was more of his earlier things like Food and Liquor and all that, you know. But there was one song that went big actually. It was Daydream. So I thought about like the trauma responses things. And one of the trauma responses somebody may have is to go to a different place, you know. Don't want to be there, like you said, dissociation. So you know what I'm saying? That's the biggest thing of daydream. Sometimes you ask people, why you always daydreaming? Well, maybe they going through somewhere they don't even want to be present right now, because present means being inside of the hell that they in. So that's where that poem came from. Did you want to look? Well,
I like the poem. You know my favorite bar? I can't think
it's not. Don't call my stuff a bar.
It's a bar because low key we gonna turn poetry into rap when we finna come out as a married rap group. Like y'all ain't ready for it. But no, the one something about B.I.G. but big pun intended. I was like, oh, run that back.
Yeah, that was the one.
I forgot what you said, but I was like, oh snap.
Let me see. Hold on. Let me grab the journal.
Okay, King, you better spit.
Right.
All right.
So I'm gonna give y'all a quick synopsis because I'm one of those where I feel like I know where leave the creative thought process. No, I got to give you some of what I was going through with my mindset. So it started off. It's like I fell asleep beneath the flowers for just a couple of moments. Like usually a daydream is what? It's interrupted by somebody saying, "Hey, bro, you there?" So it's a past tense. I was only free in the past tense because this moment was lackluster. Somebody interrupted your stuff, man. So see, I'm staring in the distance. This is the description of a daydream. To grasp on to something different, a new image of life, of a life worth living, something the B.I.G. would live. Big pun intended.
Did he have a song, or maybe it was a lyric, something about life worth living or something? That's why I was like,
probably, but I was just going like, you know, I'm a B.I.G. fan, notorious B.I.G. fan, and that boy lived. He lived lavish, big dog in style. Shout out to Big Pun too, man. Big Pun was another big dog, so had to get him that love right there. So I only do this when it gets overbearing. that's when you start to daydream or somebody starts to daydream. And because I stay still, my false reality makes it underwhelming. You don't like when I do that. Some people don't like when you do that. What you thinking about? They want to know
Me.
your every move. They controlling, maybe because of some trauma they went through. Quiet as kept, like the Christmas mouse that actually ate the cookies that moms left out. Like, this is going into a scenario where somebody may be in poverty and may be dealing with, like, okay, we ain't got the best of things. Mama trying, but we know, you know what I'm saying, we got rats and roaches and stuff like that. So, you know what I'm saying? Santa must have came through the front door because we ain't got that type of house.
Y'all don't. Y'all did.
Well, I ain't had no chimney. I know that. So,
Or a back door.
so that was real to me. And you gifted us the struggle over and over because you ain't got that type of spouse. Sometimes some women deal with the leaving of a father, and it leaves the child to go through situations that hurts them. So instead, I just daydream. I fell asleep only for an hour just to hide from your powers. So in this episode, I already told y'all I went into the situation where I threw the rock. And I wanted to freeze that moment. So I really fell asleep, tried to fall asleep for about an hour or so till moms got home, because I ain't want them powers of that ass whooping to ignite. But in this castle I built, this stanza, I don't want to hold y'all too long, but this stanza, in this castle I built, I have no need for bridges to burn. I got rooms inside of rooms, my riches I earn. I'm that glitch in the matrix. I choose to fight off assimilation. I show you that it's okay not to fit in. Constant knock. So that right there is just telling you going to that happy place, and you know what I'm saying, you building relationships. You're not burning bridges like you seen come before you and made situations harder. So constant knock. Hey, you good, man? My bad. I was caught up in my daydream. So that was, of course, in a daydream. So I use this space to find clarity and understand why when I finally do make it out of this hell, I'm obligated to this charity of hurt. Now that's really effing with my daydream. I'm the owner of all these daydreams. So a big thing about your daydreams, you want it to be yours by any means. And it's like a real thing is once you make it out of certain situations, like let's say you make it famous, you make it big. Now somebody knocking at your door like, or hey Michi, or hey, give back to me, give back. And it's like, bro, you never gave back. You hurt me more than you helped me. So that's where that stanza came from.
Okay.
So we still locked into the daydream. I'm on the podium, ready for y'all to hear my cry and fight. I'm about to go to war. I'm all Vaseline and lotioned up. Take a swing. You can't win in my daydream. So nothing can hurt me in my daydream. I'm trying to get you to see that I'm coming from where I'm coming from. I'm here now. So in my daydream, I'm a bad mother. Shut your mouth. I'm colder than ice on cream. I built this scene brick by brick. I had to as a trauma response and being misled by a sorry second. Shh. Hold on. Let me get back into my daydream. So that was basically bringing it full circle. Being pulled out of your daydream back into the real world, and you like starting to think about those situations, those people that hurt you again. So it's like, hold on, let me get back to my daydreams. Don't even let it get to you. You're gonna make it out of this someday. But anyway,
Okay. I like it. Thank you for sharing that poem, Puppy.
Yeah. So
Well, that's Poetry in the Park, y'all. We hope y'all enjoyed this episode. We didn't mean to make it this long, but I feel like it was needed. So, poetry and all. So,
it was needed.
make sure y'all subscribe if you're watching the visual on YouTube. Click that red subscribe button and hit the bell. If you're listening on Apple, Google, Spotify, again, subscribe to us. Make sure you're in the know as soon as we drop. And we love y'all, and we out.
And make sure you donate to the podcast. So
Donate to the podcast.
we love y'all. I might have lost my podcast, but I found myself in you. And with you, I think I'll let you in on my daydream.
Hey, exit stage left.
Peace.
All right.